Well, hello there. This is Virtuoso Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. I'm really pleased to show you this game, which was a game of the Leonhardt Gambit, the Queen Trap line against the Scandinavian Defense. It's my preferred approach now to the Scandinavian. Let's go take a look. I've got white pieces, of course, and as usual, I lead with 1 e4. My opponent with the black pieces, a friend from Colombia, I've played a few games against them before, they play d5, Scandinavian Defense. And when you look at chess social media, so some YouTubers and also some blogs, quite a few people recommend the Scandinavian for people who might want to, spice things up a bit. It is quite a good opening, and it can take the 1 e4 player out of their comfort zone. This is what I do though. So captures, queen captures of course, knight out with tempo on the queen, and black has a number of options. Commonly you will see queen to d8, so queen all the way back. That's good for me. Basically it's like winning an extra turn. Sometimes black will move onto the e file with check. In that situation I usually just try to trade queens. That's not the best approach, but it just takes away the danger. Now my opponent is a civilized person, so they play the main line queen a5. In this position black has a number of options. d4, take the center, or maybe the knight to f3, develop the other knight. Both are good, both are probably the most accurate moves. However, I really like b4, the Leonhardt Gambit. Very, very tricky, very spicy, leads to fun games. And the idea is after queen captures, you give up the pawn straight up. You now have rook b1, and the rook now controls the semi-open b file, wins a bit of tempo on the queen as well. And it's surprising, even though it looks a bit weird, how useful the rook on the b file often is in this position. Leonhardt Gambit, named after Paul Leonhardt, a German chess master from the early 20th century, strong in the early 1900s. And the Gambit is named after this line that he played against Mieses in a tournament in Prague in 1908. When I was looking through the historical databases, the interesting thing is that this exact setup, b4 and after captures rook b1, was played previously by Emanuel Lasker, so the second world chess champion, and he played this earlier than Leonhardt. Only he played this in not a very serious game, so in a exhibition he was doing, a tour of the USA. He was playing some simos, and this was one of the games that he played in that simo, I think 3 years earlier in 1905. But he did the same thing in a tour, a simo exhibition in the Netherlands in 1908 as well. So clearly Lasker knew about this line before Leonhardt. And it makes you wonder, what other tricky lines do the great chess masters or world chess champions had up their sleeves but never really came to the light of day. However, in this game, I chose not to play the rook b1 variation, which is the best, most accurate move, as I said, surprisingly good. I decided to play the queen trap line, and that is knight to b, after captures, knight to b5. Another very tricky move, defended by the bishop, and it looks like the knight is attacking that c7 pawn, the c7 square, which comes with an absolute fork of the king and rook. So meaning that if that struck, black would lose the right to castle, potentially expose onto the semi-open e-file, and also winning material. Now, in this position, the most common maneuver for black, and there'll be, I think it actually is their most accurate move, and it makes a lot of sense, is that they will move the queen back to a5. it was a queen a5 line, the main line anyway, so black is going to want to put their queen potentially back onto a5. It makes sense, defends that square. In this game, my opponent didn't do that, but to show you the idea behind the trap, I actually got this same line again in another game just earlier in the week. So here we go, so back in this position, and they played queen a5. And the logic here now is bishop to c4. Very commonly, black would try to kick the knight, maybe with the c pawn or maybe with the a pawn. In this game, they played the a pawn. It's a blunder. Why is it a blunder? Why is that the best move with the knight? Because that knight needs to defend the h5 square. Because here, bishop captures f7, brilliant move. It's a sacrifice with check, forces black's king onto the f file. You can see king actually should have gone the other way. Queen to h5 with check. Notice, but both queens now are on the 5th rank. They try to block the queen, seems to make sense, but now the knight jumps out of the way with check, reveals that the queens are looking at each other, captures, and this is the queen trap. Absolutely lovely. Now, white still needs to play carefully because effectively what you've done is trade a couple of minor pieces for black's queen and also exposing their king. It's not difficult to play here though for white. You do need to consolidate. That's the next move, just to show you. Here we go. So that often they win a bit of tempo back on your queen. You need to consolidate, castle, get the king to safety, and now the goal is to try to win pieces with the superiority of your queen. Now, this game, as well as some further historical information about Leonhardt and some other historical games, they're in the article that comes with this video. See the link below in the description to read more. All right, so back to my game here. Here we go. So let's get back to the position. Now, in this game, my opponent decided not to play queen a5 and played the second most common move, which was knight to a6. So defending the c pawn with their knight. Now, this is not the most accurate move for black, but this stops that queen trap. So there is no queen, real queen trap now because their queen is not on the 5th rank. However, we have basically won a concession. Their knight is kind of on the edge of the board, developed in kind of a dumb position. This queen is not quite in the right place as well, and so we just develop. Knight f3. They try to pin our knight, trying to win a bit of tempo. That's not the most accurate move. And in this position, we just need to retreat our knight. These are not necessarily in a good place. And you can see we're back to equality, even though they're up a point of material. Let's see how it transforms. They now decide to long castle. That's fine. And look here, just like in the other line, the main line of the Leonhardt Gambit, rook b1 is surprisingly good. Semi-open b file into the opponent's king's position because they've long castled, and I win tempo on the queen. Okay, they move the queen out of the way. There we go. They've got reasonable attack there. I now give an attack on the queen, also attack there. They give a check, block. Now, Stockfish suggests that actually trading queens is best for me. I didn't really want to do that. Now, in this position, for black, potentially trading this way is best for them. I didn't think either of us wanted to trade material, though, at this point. So we end up, Stockfish calls these all inaccuracies or mistakes, but it ends up being okay. So here they decide to move their queen. Didn't want to potentially lose that pawn. I decide to jump my knight out of the way with an attack on the queen. What are they going to do? They take my a pawn, and you can see it's a blunder. And it's a blunder because that queen is effectively trapped. Have a look, see whether or not you can find the trap. Did you see it? Now, I have to admit, I didn't see it in the game either. Now, the correct way of playing this is knight to c3. Lots of arrows there, but basically there's an attack on the queen. The queen needs to move somewhere. And pretty much everywhere that the queen can go is covered, with the single exception of the a5 square. Queen goes to a5, it doesn't work. Remember the hero, rook on b1? That pawn is pinned, and it's a royal fork. So very, very lovely. That's the best position, the best move after that mistake. Now, I saw something almost as good. So I realized there was an issue there. So I decided to give this check, knight to c6. Immediate check. And what I was thinking is if they capture, now there's going to be a discovered check, and bang, discovered check, attack on the queen, and basically we trade another piece. So effectively I trade a knight and a rook for the queen. Still very, very winning for white. So that's what I saw. And the interesting thing here, in this position, that is actually the best move for black according to the engine. Now, black didn't like that. They must have calculated and saw that, and so they decided to move their king. You can see it's a mistake. Stockfish says, in a cold-blooded way, just lose your queen, because here I now straight up win that bishop with a check. They block, that's fine. I'll give another check, and I just decimate their position now. They move their king out of the way. Now with the attack on the queen, they're going to have to move their queen. I take with that knight, so basically winning material. And surprisingly, everything here is good for me. My pieces are all active. White's pieces are largely constrained, not active. King quite exposed in the center of the board. And here I moved my rook, didn't want to lose it. Stockfish says, a more direct move would be just to immediately attack the queen. They, develop, makes sense. Obviously need to move my bishop now, attacking the queen. Queen moves here. And in this position, I found another really devious trap to win the opponent's queen. I need to get my bishop onto this square to give check. So sacrifice that rook. Capture, short castles first, sorry. There we go, sacrifice the rook. And now they capture with the bishop, makes sense. They needed to do the queen, but they didn't, because bishop now with check. The king very constrained. They move out of that file. However, another royal fork. Very, very lovely. Captures, and it's all over now for black. So here, my goal is basically to just consolidate. Try to force trades of pieces with an attack. There we go. Attack. That's fine. Queen forward. And the idea is there is now a way I can force a trade of bishops. They don't see it. There we are. Bishop trade has to happen. Captures. Captures. And after this move, black decides that they've had enough. They can see the position is hopeless and they opt to resign. Good game, GG. The big takeaway from this game is to consider the Leonhardt Gambit against the Queen a5 main line of the Scandinavian Defense. It is really quite good, leads to fun, tactical games, and when you look at the Lichess community database, it has an excellent win ratio against black. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.